Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back, and we are back into Married at First Sight UK. We are on series 8 and now into episode 24. Yes, we are partway through. Don't forget, there's 36 episodes of these coming. 36 episodes, okay? So let's see how the couples have been getting on thus far in the retreat. But before I start this episode, as I always say, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so when you know I am on and doing videos. And let's talk about this episode, shall we? So it starts off with them showing us Ella and JJ. Of course. I know this is going to sound so... Oh, do you know what? This is going to sound so bad, but Ella does not look nice without makeup on. I'm sorry. She really doesn't. She really doesn't. I don't know if it's because the ugliness of her personality and how she's behaved when she met JJ is coming out in her face. But yeah, she ain't all that. And JJ is not all that at the end of the day. They're both talking about how the fact that, you know, they're tired over everyone making a mountain over a molehill, that they've out of a molehill, that they've come back. And the fact that you just want to get on with the experiment and basically be with each other in that sense. Ella is saying, because it's the dinner party, it is the dinner party tonight. So basically Ella is saying to JJ and cutting him off and saying, like, if anyone says anything, she wants him to be able to let her know to say what she needs to say if anyone says anything. Remember, keyword, if anyone says anything. Okay, because JJ is there saying, no, I will deal with it. And she's like, no, because if you don't fully deal with it, then I'm going to want to speak up and I'm going to need you to let me do that. I couldn't give two shits about these people at the end of the day. I really couldn't give two shits about Ella and JJ, because I absolutely still believe that it's bollocks that this show brought them back. But hey ho, what can I do? So then it moves on to Sean and Mark, and they were talking about the discussions that had taken place, because Mark was over on the girl side, Sean was over on the lad side. And then Sean, in his infinite wisdom, thought he would be able to tell Mark something about the stick and twist game and how he came at it with his answer. So when he kind of told Sean in a roundabout way that, you know, there was no one for him to twist with, because he started off with the fact that he is a runner. Basically, when things got tough to him, he's type of a runner. And then he moves on to the fact that he tells Mark that there was no one there, there was no choices there for him to twist with, so of course he's going to stick with Mark, not realizing, and that will come off as, okay, so if someone was there for you to twist with, would you have twisted with them, knowing full well that Mark is the type of person where he has issues in regards to being abandoned and people wanting him, and that's what you decide to say to Mark. And then you have an issue with Mark bringing it up and calling you out on what you said, because it made no sense. What you were saying, Sean, made absolutely no sense. Now, I saw it how Mark saw it, that if someone was in there, you'd twist on that man's ass, like straight off the bat. Anywho, then it moves to Jay and Luke, and they're talking about, you know, like, there was drama, there was this, there was that. And Jay is coming out of that conversation with Luke as though they're in a good place. Me, myself, I don't think you two are in a good place, because you're not addressing the elephant in the room in the fact that Luke thinks you are a right pushover. You're not addressing it in any way, shape or form at the end of the day. I don't understand no man, unless he's got a kink, and I'm thinking this might be Luke's kink, I don't know, that wants a woman to tell him off. Like, seriously tell him off, pull him up on stuff. If Jay is not finding an issue with how things are going, then she ain't going to pull you up on anything. If she finds an issue, then obviously she will pull you up on it. Why were you seeking this woman to tell you to fuck off? Because I tell you what, if she starts telling you off, you ain't gonna fucking like it. That's how I'm seeing it. He is not going to like it. So then it moves along past to George and Peggy. And basically, Peggy is explaining to George that the opinion of the other girls actually hurt her. But George actually doesn't give a fuck because he's not one of these people, as I've already explained, that will allow others' opinions of him to dictate how he moves at the end of the day. But with Peggy, it's kind of like she wants George to see it from her point of view. She wants George to understand exactly why the opinions of the people that she's associating herself with in this experience is basically taking root with her, because at the end of the day, once it starts taking root, it's going to have impact on their relationship and their marriage, because Peggy won't deal with it. Peggy will not deal with it. And this is why I'm saying, why is she allowing other people to dictate how she moves within her relationship with George? Yes, other people may not like George. He's like Marmite. You either like him or you don't at the end of the day. And George is the type of person where he don't give a shit about other people's opinions. And he wants Peggy to be that same way as well. But she's not. So you see Peggy then continue with the fact that she's saying that everybody likes her, but nobody really likes George, and she's the one that's taking the brunt of the ire when it comes to their marriage and their relationship, because they're taking it, as they did with Laura, the opportunity to shit all over George via Peggy at the end of the day. So she's, as she says, she keeps on going on about how she finds it humiliating. So why, somebody tell me, why does she continue to stay with this man? If she finds being with him so humiliating, when you get on Confessions of the Couch, why are you not writing leave? Why are you continuing to write stay when you know in full well that you don't like this man? That you really don't like this man. This man has given you the ick because of shit that he does that has nothing to do with you. But you're taking it as though it's a reflection on you. And you're listening to all the white noise of everybody else as though, again, it's a reflection on you, on how George behaves. Just don't be with the man. That's all I'm saying, right? Leave on the motherfucking card the next time you're on the Confessions of the Couch. Why are you making these excuses to stay? This is the mentality that I just don't understand with these people. So then we move on to the actual dinner party, and the couples are coming in as they please. So you see Ella and JJ come in, and this is where I call bollocks on what Paul says. I'm sorry, one of the experts, Paul, this is where I call bollocks, because he's basically saying that the decision was not taken lightly to include them back into the experiment, but they did it on the basis that they are compatible with each other. They were working with each other outside on the outside world, and they believed that they should have the benefit of the experts and the coveted position of this experiment. As again, it's called Married at First Sight, but you get where I'm going with that. You get where I'm going with that. Adrienne and Matt entered, looking quite good with each other at the end of the day. And basically they're talking about the situation with Laura, and Matt, I think, has told Adrienne how these men have literally just lambasted fucking Laura to Arthur. And I think they took that opportunity, bearing in mind they have never said this shit in Laura's face. They've never said nothing in Laura's face, but yet they take the opportunity to grab at Arthur, to get at Laura via Arthur, which is wrong. It's absolutely wrong in my books. And Adrienne has basically said that Laura would be fuming by what's happening, and she said that she is not going to allow Laura to be attacked. Now, I know that, as I've already said, I don't really have an affinity to Laura in that sense. But if I was there, I'd be the same way. I would not allow for another woman to be attacked in my presence the way that Laura was attacked in the presence of Arthur. I just found it wholly disrespectful, wholly inappropriate, and just very disgusting in how these men, these so-called men, conducted themselves in speaking about a woman at the end of the day. So then Ella and JJ walk in. I don't know what the fuck Ella was wearing, I don't know which kind of destination, holiday, beach shit she thought she was on, but all I saw was a whole heap of breasticles and her yellow fucking thong coming up her hip. I don't know what dinner party she thought she was going to, because nobody was going to be throwing no keys in a motherfucking bowl for you to swap at the end of the day, because you already done that. You had your one swap, your one and done. So I think it was it Adrienne? Adrienne was saying, oh, iconic. Iconic where? Iconic my ass. At the end of the day, these two shouldn't be here. And I'm going to keep saying that probably throughout the episodes. They should not be in this experiment. It's not freaking girlfriend and boyfriend at first sight. It's married at first sight at the end of the day. So we see Thomas and Roz walking and they look good. They're getting on with each other. And I'm telling you, I am hoping that as a couple, these two stay together, like seriously stay together. The only thing that I'm going to bite on in regards to Thomas is because he was involved in the bullshit that happened in terms of people going at Arthur about Laura. He was involved with it. So you see Erica and Jordan coming, and they look fine, but you can tell overall, because of what's happened with the boys and the girls, and also with Ella and JJ coming back, overall you can absolutely see the tension that's crawling about the space. You could cut it with a flipping knife. You could see and feel the tension through the motherfucking screen when I was watching it. So basically, as Jordan walks in, you see Ella give Jordan a side eye, like proper give Jordan a side eye. And then she starts on him straight off the bat. Ella starts straight away. Nobody's chatted about nothing. But Ella decides, you know what? I'm going to go in. All guns blazing. I am going to go in. So basically, Ella turning around to Jordan, that I know you don't like me. And basically Ella trying to tell Jordan that he would have done the same thing, and Jordan said no, I wouldn't have. And this is what I mean, Ella, stop thinking that everybody's going to accept the decision that you made with JJ or not. Everybody has a difference of opinion. Just like you said you had a difference of opinion in this conversation, Jordan also has a difference of opinion in this conversation and believes that you and JJ conducted yourselves abysmally. And so did I, and so did a lot of other people that I've seen talking about that situation. They didn't rate how you and JJ went about yourselves in the slightest at the end of the day. So you hear JJ then try to jump into the melee and saying, well, we've heard your opinions and da-da-da-da-da. And Jordan point blank turns around and tells him, it was your gal. It was your gal that came to me first. What am I supposed to do? Keep my mouth shut and let her go at me? No, mate. She came to me with the issue first. If she hadn't have spoke to me, I wouldn't have to say anything, which is true. So then you see JJ shut his mouth, and I'm like, yeah, you should shut your mouth. You should shut your mouth at the end of the day, because it was your gal that opened up her mouth to Jordan. If you did not want this situation to be brought up again, then you should have told your gal to shush, to stum, to not say anything about it. So then we don't have to go around the freaking oak tree with the same sort of position. At the end of the day, people are going to have their views about the situation with Ella and JJ. They cannot change that, no matter how much they try and throw shit at the person who doesn't have the same view as them, or doesn't have the same view as Peggy, or doesn't have the same view as Tasha, or any of the other girls that greeted them, or any of the lads that greeted them with open arms and saying, oh my God, I'm so happy, I love love, and I'm so glad you found each other. Yeah, nah, that could never be me. That could never be me at the end of the day, because wrong is wrong. You did wrong. So if you two want to get to know each other, it should have been outside of the experiment. That's where it should have been. So then the shit starts falling right down on Jordan's shoulders completely, because Laura and Arthur walked in, and you could see from the way that Laura strode in to that place that she was on. She was switched on and she was ready. There was no need for her to get ready, because she was ready for it at the end of the day. So she point blank pulled Jordan up about his comments towards Arthur. and basically told Jordan that you didn't even give me a fucking chance, which is true. You didn't. You didn't give her a chance to even formulate an opinion of Laura before you started saying the shit that you said to Arthur. So Jordan then tried to play it as though, well, it wasn't just me, it was other people. And she point blank said to Jordan, don't hide behind other people. Stick to your opinion. Stick to what you said about me. That's what I want to know. Other people I will deal with as time goes on. But right now I'm talking to you, is what Laura was in a roundabout way saying. I'm talking to you. I'm dealing with you. You tell me what you said about me and my husband relationship so I can deal directly with you. I don't want to hear what everybody else said. So basically he was there basically saying that Arthur's not right for her and going around this, that and the other. And this is where I said, like it was even in the conversation that they had with the lads, Jordan overstepped a boundary. Jordan overstepped a boundary. How dare you sit there? How dare you sit there and try and tell Laura how she should be in her marriage towards Arthur and how Arthur should be with her? How can you form that opinion when you don't know them like that? You do not know them like that to form that type of strong opinion that you have, and you're literally trying to paint Laura as this woman that is abusive to Laura, because that's what it's coming down to at the end of the day. They're trying to paint Laura as this abusive woman and that Arthur is the trodden husband, and Arthur's saying that he's not. Arthur is basically saying that he appreciates when Laura literally says certain things to him at the end of the day, because there's sometimes where Arthur don't understand because people are not getting it through their heads that Arthur's first freaking language is Polish. It's not English. So when Arthur says certain things or when Laura says certain things, it can get lost in translation. So she is learning from him and he is learning from her. So unless you're literally lying in that bed and living in that room with these people, you don't know what the fuck is going on in their marriage. And people need to keep their nose out in terms of how they're dealing with Laura and Arthur. So after that conversation, in quick succession, you get Paula and Tasha walking and you get George and Peggy walking. Now, George is there. I can't remember who he's talking to, but he's talking about Laura. And Laura can hear it because Laura's making sure she watches what's going on. And now George is talking about how he believes that Laura belittles Arthur. So then Laura quickly pulls him out of that conversation and says, can we have a talk? And basically tells George point blank that I heard you say that I belittle Arthur in our relationship. I heard you use those choice of words, basically. So Arthur says to George, what makes you think that it won't work between me and Laura at the end of the day? So he says his reasoning. I can't really go into that because I really didn't write the notes in regards to what George was saying, because to be honest I think it's full of bullshit, because at the end of the day George and Peggy have their own issues that they should concentrate on rather than concentrating on pulling apart somebody else's marriage at the end of the day. So Laura basically says to George, at the end of the day, you and Peggy are from different worlds, and she doesn't use that against them in terms of how they're managing their own marriage. So why are you trying to use that then against me and Arthur? Yes, we are from different worlds, but we are making this motherfucking work at the end of the day. And it was at this point that I thought to myself, Laura, stop trying to convince these people, because these people have a view of you in their mind, like seriously have a view of you in their mind, and no matter how much you say and profess the opposite, they're not going to believe it, because all they want to do is believe their own narrative and put things in place in regards to what their narrative feeds to them. They don't know you, they don't know you, they don't know your marriage, they don't know Arthur at the end of the day, because if they were really friends with Arthur, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing to Laura at the end of the day. All I would say is George and Peggy have bigger things to deal with in their marriage, because they're on completely different ends of the freaking spectrum when it comes to their marriage. So George really has no business talking about Laura in the way that he does at the end of the day. He needs to go fix the situation that's going on with his own marriage, because to be fair, from what I've seen with Peggy, she actually belittles George. She actually talks to George like he's a child. She actually paints George as what's the word? Oh, she's patronizing to George at the end of the day. And you see all of this on the screen where she patronizes this man. So for him then to sit there and say that to Laura, it's making me question, you know what? The saying is true. Misery loves freaking company. And that's where he's trying to put himself. He wants Laura and Arthur to be as miserable as he is right now. So then you see Sean and Mark walk in, and you see Jay and Luke walk in. And as I said, the vibes were like base level vibes were just not kicking at all today, because I think people had a lot of things that they were ready to get off their chest. And then they basically go in to the dinner party. Adrienne gives a speech and basically wants to free everybody from the tension and wants everybody to have a good time. No, Adrienne, you do not know this show, because that's not going to happen. Not with these people. It's not going to happen, basically. So everybody's sitting, having their little chatter. Laura's basically saying that it has been her toughest week so far generally. It's literally, I think it's starting to chip away at her now. It really is. It's starting to impact on her now. And as Arthur said, he tells people that he asks Laura to correct him. He asks Laura to correct him. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, if that's the case, that you do ask Laura to correct you when needed, and Laura does, maybe that's the situation that these people are viewing at the time and thinking that she's coming off quite patronizing when she does it, or the fact that she could be belittling him when she does it. But at the end of the day, they don't know, as I keep saying, what's going on between their marriage. They don't know what Arthur's asked her to do. They don't know what Laura's asked her to do at the end of the day. So you know what? Keep to your own. Do what you're doing in your own separate marriages, and maybe there won't be so much flipping guff going on. Seriously, because everybody seems to have an opinion about what's going on with everybody else, rather than having an opinion on what's going on with themselves. So then you see a little bit of a set to between Peggy and George. So George is basically saying to Peggy that he doesn't like that she puts pressure on him, because first and foremost, Peggy literally turned her back to George while she was sat at the table, and basically was saying that she's gonna need a drink to get through tonight and all yada. So you can see that the situations are there between them two, and this is what I'm saying. I don't understand why George and Peggy are not trying to sort out their own shit rather than going through everybody else's marriage, but there we go. So basically, Erica starts speaking up for Peggy and saying that even though, George, you don't really care about others' opinions, Peggy does. But this is where I'm saying people have got it twisted. I don't understand why you're putting I don't understand why Peggy is putting so much stock in other people's opinions when it comes to George. Either you want this man or you don't. At the end of the day, you want him or you don't. You want to make it work or you don't. That's where you are. So I don't understand why you are making other people affect how you act within your marriage and relationship to George. It makes no sense to me. Not one iota. At the end of the day, these people aren't walking past your threshold of your home. They aren't the ones interacting with George on a daily basis. They aren't the ones that are seeing different sides to each other on a daily basis. You're seeing all of this, Peggy. So I don't understand why you're allowing people to infect your fucking relationship the way that they are. Seriously. So that means she needs outside validation. She really does. She needs outside validation from other people to literally say whether her relationship is going good or not, because she puts as much stock as she puts in these people and their opinions about George. She puts even greater stock in what her sister and her family say about George as well. So all I would say is that this marriage between them two, I don't see it working. I really don't. I don't see it working. And at the next freaking Confessions of the Couch, she needs to be writing leave on that card. Either she needs to be writing leave on that card, or George needs to be writing leave on that card at the end of the day. You see, like, the little situation bubble up with JJ, Ella, and I think Jordan, they're all having a conversation. And then Luke pipes up and turns around to Jordan. And remember, you really got to listen to the words that Luke says, and turns around to Jordan and says, the reason I spoke stern to you and told you to shut up is because you won't learn. And I was like, what? And then he goes on to say, like, if I told you to shut up because you were still going on, and when I told you to shut up, it would make you sit back and go, oh, okay. And I'm like, are you his daddy? Are you his dad? Is he supposed to listen to you, Luke? Who the fuck are you at the end of the day? Who are you? Because all that would do, because if it was me, all that would do be like a red flag to a motherfucking bull, because I would make sure that I kept on going until I pissed you the fuck off for you to try and do something. That's what I would do. So that's how I know Luke is full of bollocks. Luke is absolutely full of, but he really thought that he had that control over Jordan, because actually Jordan didn't shut his mouth though. When you told him to shut up, Jordan kept going. And even Erica turned around and said to you, that's not going to make Jordan shut up. That's going to make him go even harder, which it did. So I don't know where Luke was coming from with that comment, because at the end of the day, Luke looked like he wanted to get up and punch Jordan in his mouth. So for all intents and purposes, Luke is full of bullshit at the end of the day. Luke is full of bullshit. The reason why Luke is full of bullshit is because Jordan was calling him out on the fuck shit he was saying in regards to Jay, around the whole situation, where he turned around and he said, this came out of Luke's mouth. No matter how much he's trying to deny it right now, it came out of Luke's mouth that when he was talking about the situation with Jay and her not telling him off, he turned around and said, well, if you was able to rob a bank and not get caught, would you do it? That's an analogy to say, if you could go and mess around behind your gal's back, would you not do it? Is it not? So it's around that point that Luke decides to leave the table. And I knew as soon as Luke decides to leave the table, because he said that he wasn't feeling well, that the shit that he said will probably rear its ugly head for Jay to deal with by herself. And Luke was not there to give a response to, which is bullshit at the end of the day. Because my thing is if you've got enough mouth to say something to this man in front of his face, why the hell didn't you say it while he was there? Why didn't you bring up what he said in regards to the bank comment and the context it was meant in while he was there? Because then he couldn't really then have a backstory or try and prepare to have a backstory there so he could get his ass out of trouble with Jay. He would have had to literally go by the seat of his pants to explain in front of everybody there what he meant by it, when everybody else knew exactly what he meant by it. But no, you had to wait for him to leave to actually say it. Anywho, things got on to Laura, and Laura basically bringing up the fact that, you know, how hurtful it was. Everybody was saying shit about her via Arthur and behind her back, because at the end of the day, as I've already stated, behind closed doors, nobody knows what anybody's marriage is about in regards to this show at the end of the day. So basically, she did go at Jordan again. And it was Thomas that then jumped in and said, it wasn't just Jordan that said it. And I'm like, why are you protecting this man? Why are you protecting this man? Because at the end of the day, all of you overstepped the boundary. All of you within the men's group that were talking about Laura to Arthur overstepped the boundary. I'm glad that Thomas turned around and told Laura exactly what he said within that scenario, even though I believe it was wrong too. But as again, we don't know what goes on day to day with all of these couples, because we know they all meet up outside of the realms of it being recorded and what they show us in that regard. But I still believed that they overstepped a boundary when it came to Laura. And Jay was trying to calm the situation down because the decibels were getting too loud from Jordan, and everybody was literally, including Adrian, was literally, and Tasha, having Laura's back 100% and saying, nah man, this ain't gonna fly tonight. This is not going to fly tonight. You're not coming at her tonight. She said what she said. You're gonna have to deal with it and carry on about your day. See George, you see Peggy as well trying to flip it on herself and basically saying that, you know what, I'm kind of in the same position with Laura because it, and I'm like, no. The way Laura got verbally beat by some of the guys, no Peggy, you are not. You are not even in the same hemisphere of what they did to Laura that day. Really not. So all I would say is I feel it for Laura. At that point in time, I absolutely felt it for Laura. So just before the box is brought out to the table, the box that causes a lot of problems is brought out to the table. It's brought up to Jay in regards to the comment that Luke made about the bank and the context that everybody believed that they meant it in. Now, prior to that, Jay was literally defending Luke in regards to the conversations that they had in him believing that she was a pushover. And then that's how that conversation got started. So then the box comes out. So Thomas reads the first question, which is, what is their biggest achievement between him and Roz? And he would say is that they've given this process a chance to get to the point that they've got to. Then Matt basically says to Adrian, what do you see as our biggest challenge? And Adrian said the communication, and he agreed wholeheartedly that the communication between them two needs to be worked on, because Adrian is more or less like the life and soul of a party and can get quite loud and get leery and aggy and all those sorts of things. But Matt is not necessarily like that. So it's just them trying to come to a common ground on how they're going to work their communication going forward. So then Mark asks, are we lovers or friends? So then Mark basically said, like, you need both. You need to be lovers and be friends with your partner at the end of the day. And basically said, well, I'm not going to say that we are in love. And I was just like, Sean's sitting there agreeing with this man, everything that he's saying. And I'm like, wasn't it meant to be Sean answering that question first and then Mark chiming in afterwards? But hey-ho, I don't make the rules of this game. But as it is, Sean then comes in after Mark and says that he feels that he rushes into things and he very much needs to take things slow. And he wants to spend more time knowing who Mark is at the end of the day. He said, are we lovers at the minute? No, we are not. But he wants to see how it goes going forward. I think that landed a little bit flat for Mark, but hey-ho, at least Sean was being honest. That's all I'm going to say. At least Sean was being honest. This is what that box is there for you to be open and honest in regards to the questions that he asks. So then Paul turned around and asked Tasha, do you wish I would take more control in our relationship? Now Tasha kind of went like that, and Arthur made a joke. Not at the right time, Arthur. Read the room, Arthur. Read the room. Good. Arthur turned around and shouted out, that's for Jay and Luke to answer. Jay was not best pleased by that joke and jumped straight down Arthur's throat. And basically Arthur turned to her and said, honestly, I only meant it as a joke. And this is why I said, Arthur, read the room. That it was not the right time or place for you to say that, because Jay was not receptive to that joke. So then after that was said, Jay did get tearful and Arthur did go and give her a hug and basically apologized and said, I'm serious. Seriously, I didn't mean anything by saying what I said. And she just said, just give me a minute. And she walks off on out, but Mark freaking goes out with her as well. And she basically said, at the end of the day, I am not no pushover. Am I being stupid? Because people are telling me exactly what Luke is saying, and he must be believing that I'm some type of pushover. So everybody else, he must be believing that I'm some type of pushover, but that's not the type of person that I am. And that's why I said, just because someone is a people pleaser doesn't mean that they are a pushover. And that's what Luke needed to understand and get between the space between his ears, but he didn't. So Jay then comes back into the room, and Arthur brings out his ticket and says to Laura, "Are you happy in your marriage?" And Arthur was quite clear and said, "You know what? At first, he wasn't happy within his marriage with Laura, but he is happy right now with the work and the progress that they've done and everything that happens between the both of them. He's happy right now." And he basically said that Laura is a good girl. He said to the table, "You don't know her like I know her. She's a good girl. And she's done so much for him." And Laura said, "I agree." She said, "I don't think within the first few weeks," she says, Laura agrees they were not a happy couple. And we saw that. They weren't connecting as they should have connected at the end of the day. But now he's become more himself, but she's very happy now. Then we get to JJ. And he says to Ella, "What is the best thing we could get coming back into this experiment?" So he turned around and said that at the end of the day, they've spent time outside of the experiment. They're coming back to get the help. They want to grow their bond or relationship. And they want to be able to get to a point where they're so strong that when they get out, nothing's going to derail them. And Ella basically said that she wanted their relationship to blossom, and she thought that everybody else can see what they saw. And everyone was like, "Oh, that's so sweet, that's so sweet." And I was like, "You know what? I'd love to clap you both upside your head and give you a rough shod kick in the boot and say, bye-bye, go, no, you don't need to be here no more." Because seriously, I keep saying it, what are they there for? What are they there for? Like, seriously, what are they there for? Anyway, I shall quickly and swiftly move on. So Georges basically says to Peggy, "How much faith do you have in our future?" Now, Georges lists that he feels that they're there for the right reasons and feels that he's given his rawest version of himself to Peggy and believes that they're a team and believes that they can move that team forward in order to have a really strong marriage within the future. Now, note, Georges answers this question, like answers the question that was asked. Then we get to Peggy's answer, and Peggy basically said that yesterday was rough because of other people's opinions of Georges matter and they were getting too much for her. She said it's then that their opinions are now starting to impact on their relationship. And I'm like, only you can make their opinions impact on your relationship, my love. Nobody else, only you. And then she said, so that was the reason for her to have faith. And I'm like, my girl didn't even answer the question. The question was, how much faith do you have in your future relationship? You didn't even answer the rotted question, Peggy, like at all. And even Georges knew you didn't answer that question. The answer you gave was so piss poor, it was unbelievable. But we'll move on from that. So Jordan says to Erica, how strong would you say your marriage is compared to others? I'd say at this point, after Erica literally started, when she first came in, ruffled a few feathers with how she thought everybody's relationship would be more moved along after 4 weeks, and she thinks her and Jordan's relationship is the strongest. I just said, don't answer that question. Don't answer that question. Don't let the answer leave your lips. Yeah, don't do it. So they didn't. They said something in a roundabout way, but basically led to the fact that they're both very happy with each other. So they left that question alone, which they should do. So then it goes to Jay. Remember, Luke's not there. Luke has gone to bed because he wasn't feeling well. So it's just Jay by herself. And basically Jay was saying, the question was, what do you think is the biggest problem you and Luke have to overcome? So Jay basically was honest and says, well, it looks like the recent most biggest problem that we have to overcome right now is the fact that Luke thinks I'm a bloody pushover, and that he wants someone who can be in more control than what he is. I'm like, she's right. She's right. And Jay point blank says she is not letting a man change any way how she is in any way, shape or form. And at that point, I thought to myself, well, Luke, you said you wanted Jay to tell you off, where you go and get it now. We'll see how you cope with Jay pulling you up on your bullshit, because you wanted her to tell you off while you're in a position to be told off, my dear. So then, after all of that happens, it gets to the fact that Luke and Jay didn't share a room that night, basically, because Jay believed that because Luke was unwell and she was in the mindset that she was in, she didn't want to go into the room and start an argument with him straight off the bat. So she waited until the morning to go and see him. So Luke wasn't too happy with the fact that Jay didn't come back to the room that night, and he was constantly up and down all night thinking what the hell had happened to her in that sense. So he just basically asked where she'd been, and she said that she didn't, as she said, she didn't want to overwhelm him with how she was feeling at that point in time, and basically talked about the situation at the dinner and the things that were said by Erica and Jordan. Let's just say Luke did not take that very well. He did not take it in the slightest very well at all. So basically Luke is backtracking on what he said about the bank comment and saying that she is taking it the way they said it and they meant it, because they, Erica, being Erica and Jordan, have taken it out of context on how he meant it. How did you mean it, Luke? That's what I want to know. How did Luke mean it? Because it came off the end of him saying if he could get a girl's number, Jay would not be bothered. And then he said to the lads, well, if you had the opportunity to rob a bank and nobody would know or you wouldn't get caught, would you do it? So what is he using that analogy for? What is he using it for? How is that taken out of context? That's what I want to know. How is it taken out of context? Because my man is backtracking. My man said he wanted to be told off by Jay, but now he don't want this telling off, because now he's trying to take away responsibility for himself and the shit that he caused, yeah, with what he said, and he said what he said, and putting it on somebody else because he wants them to take the blame and the brunt of his ire, because now he's getting the shit pulled on him by Jay. Yeah, we see you, Luke. We see you. We totally see you. Anyway, that is where I am going to leave it, and I shall be back in quick succession with the next episode. As I always say, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so when you know I am on and doing videos. I'm going to say peace out.